Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast powered by Riverwind Casino. My name is Brandon Drum, here with Parker Thune. Bye week, it is. OU will go 5-0 because they're going to win bye week. You always win bye week, particularly on the injury front. We're going to discuss all that. We're going to discuss a lot of things in the recruiting world. We're going to discuss team stuff. And on top of that, if you're a member of OU Insider and you ask questions, there's between 8 and 13. We're going to try to get to as many, probably around 8 or 9 most we're going to get to here. But you guys ask questions, and we've got answers for you in this Ask Away VIP Lindsay Street edition of the podcast. Going to be fun. Hope you guys enjoy it. But before we do all that, Parker, let's thank some sponsors.
Let's do it. Riverwind Casino is our presenting sponsor, folks, right off of I-35 and Highway 9. Riverwind has been the OKC area's premier gaming destination for nearly 2 decades now. Almost 3,000 electronic games, table games, bars, and dining options, plus the best live music in the metro. It's no surprise that Riverwind is always a good time. Also, Janiking is the greatest team to ever clean and a proud partner of OU Athletics, delivering spotless results and solutions from stadiums to any size business across the country. So check out which of their solutions is best for you or your business by going to janiking.com. That's JANIKING.com. And finally, a word from Mando. Fall's here, crisp air, football, maybe a bonfire or two. But if you're like most guys, you're still putting in hard work. And yeah, that means sweat. Don't let body odor sideline you. Mando deodorant plus sweat control is for real working guys, formulated to stop odor before it starts and doesn't mask odor with overwhelming fragrance. So you can tackle anything from the job site to tailgating with confidence. Don't mask it, Mando it. What makes Mando deodorant plus sweat control's solid stick unique? Well, it's not your typical deodorant. It's clinical strength. Twice as good at controlling sweat than the standard. It controls both sweat and odor for 72 hours, and after just 12 hours, underarm sweat was reduced by 92%. This stuff works. And Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with that solid stick deodorant, the cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash and deodorant wipes, as well as free shipping. Now, as a special offer for our listeners, new customers are going to get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. So use code INSIDER at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness.
All right. Here we go. Let's start, Parker, with talking bye week injuries. Everybody's got questions. As a matter of fact, look, you know what? That's part of the questions that are going on with some of these Q&As they got going here. So let's just get right to the questions, because I think a lot of that's some of the stuff we're going to talk about is going to get answered in that, and then we can just roll over into recruiting and then talk a little bit about OU moving forward and be done with this. So here we go. Bird Dog Y67, Parker. He says, I'm having a hard time not being down on OU recruiting. I know you all are saying there is still a long time left in recruiting, but it feels like OU is losing players that would be the cornerstone of next year's class. Houston may not have been a bidding war. Is it truly that Texas Tech is just paying way over what every other team is offering? What is OU offering in comparison to Texas Tech? Why is it that these schools like Ohio State, Georgia, USC, Oregon, Tennessee, Notre Dame always finish so well, and we are and are able to hold off schools like Texas Tech typically? I am all for not recruiting guys who are only want to come for the bag, but shouldn't OU identify that early in the process? Real quickly, before we move on, I know some of the Sooners fans want to make sure you see some of the SEC home games like Missouri, LSU, Ole Miss, Maybe even go to that OU Texas game, which is why I want to give a shout out to our sponsor SeatGeek today. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is number one rated ticket app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. SeatGeek is also the official ticket marketplace of the Oklahoma Sooners. So all the Oklahoma Sooners tickets on SeatGeek are authentic and secure. I use SeatGeek. I used it for my Shane Gillis concert that I went to a few months ago, which was awesome. When it comes to the championship team in Oklahoma City, I used it to get some of those tickets as well. So, man, SeatGeek's pretty awesome. I'll just leave it at that. And if you're wondering if you're spending too much on tickets, SeatGeek has a deal for you because they have a green little button. They got a red button that tells you whether it's good or bad. Obviously, green means good, you're getting a good deal. Red means you're getting a bad deal. And with all that said, OU Insider has a code for you guys, so you guys can get 10% off your next ticket purchase. All you have to do is go to SeatGeek.com and type in Insider10 in the promo section, or you just download the app using the link in the description below, and it will automatically use Insider 10%. Thank you, SeatGeek.
That's like 8 different questions.
I know. I didn't even realize it. I read it, but then when I read it out loud, it sounds a whole lot of question. Essentially, he's asking, why can't OU hold off Texas Tech? Why are they outbidding Oklahoma all the time? And if the player's going to be about money, why aren't they identifying that earlier?
It's not, first off, that's not an easy thing to identify because it's not just whether the player is primarily about the bag. You have to keep in mind the circle as well. And there are certain players and certain circles that I've dealt with that I would have thought, okay, this guy or this guy's group of people surrounding him, that they're the most unlikely people to jump at the money before all else, but it winds up happening. I mean, put yourself in the shoes of a 17-year-old kid or put yourself in the shoes of a parent that has a 17-year-old kid that's all of a sudden worth 7 figures. I mean, it's hard not to be swayed by the money.
Yeah.
No matter what your priorities are, no matter what your values are, it's hard not to be swayed by the money. And so, uh, easy to say, very difficult to put into practice as far as identifying guys early in the process that are primarily about the bag. It's not that simple. And as to why Oklahoma can't beat like a Texas Tech for an elite recruit, it's not about ability. And I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. It's not about ability. It's about willingness. It's about the willingness to pay a certain price. And there are plenty of programs, there are plenty of schools out there that will go above and beyond to make the best offer to a kid. And Oklahoma's standpoint on it in general is we're not going to overpay for XYZ player when we can go find a player that we believe has comparable potential that we can get much cheaper. It's not as if we have to have this guy specifically in
Yeah.
order to put together a good recruiting class. And, I was talking with Bo Bentley following his game last Friday night, and he said, look, I know maybe the recruiting rankings don't say it, but I feel confident we have the best class in the nation. We got guys that are going to show up and play and make a difference. Now, can you argue he's maybe looking at it through rose-colored glasses as OU's quarterback commit and the cornerstone of their 2026 cycle? Absolutely. But hey, when you start to examine, especially some of those guys that occupy 3-star territory in Oklahoma's 2026 class, it's not hard to pick out dudes that, in all likelihood, are going to drastically outperform their ranking at the next level. The Jandro brothers are a great example of this. I
Brian
think Brian
Harris.
Harris is going to be a stud, right? Like Tank Carrington. Tank Carrington could be a really good college football player. And
Mm-hmm.
so you this is not to say that rankings don't matter because they do. You have to have blue chip talent in your class. You got to have dudes. You got to have a few dudes. Bo Bentley's a dude, right? Undeniably, you don't have to project it all there. Bo Bentley's a dude. Jake Krell's a dude. Daniel Odom's a dude. There are certain guys in Oklahoma's class that you can figure with some degree of certainty that said guy's going to be a problem at the next level.
Rider mix.
Ryder Mix, I know he's only a 3-star too. I think that guy is going to be awesome at Oklahoma
Mm-hmm.
because I think he's very similar to Jaron Kanik in many ways. Jaron Kanik, the tight end, not Jaron Kanik, the athlete. But watching Ryder Mix play tight end, it's like, all right, well, there's the next Jaron Kanik. You want a guy with that skill set? There he is in Ryder Mix. So, man, I think ultimately you have to do your own home, and this is what I encourage everyone to do. Do your own homework on Oklahoma's class. If you can look at, what is it, 19 commits right now, if you can look at each one of those verbal commits, study the tape, study the measurables, take a look at the complete athletic profile, and conclude, yeah, these guys aren't worthy, and any one of these guys isn't worthy of playing football at the University of Oklahoma. This is a waste of a scholarship. Then, okay, we can have a conversation at that point because I know you're coming to the table with rationalized opinions on the matter. But I don't think it's fair to say, well, Oklahoma's got the 19th ranked class in the nation. Take your pick of some other school in the top 10. Why can't we recruit like XYZ school? Well, have you looked at the guys that are in Oklahoma's class? Have you studied the guys that are actually going to be wearing the crimson and cream next year? Because if you do, I think what you'll come to understand is there are some serious sleepers in this Oklahoma class. And also, man, it's not just the dudes, not just the absolute highest ranked players in a given class that show up and make an impact from the jump. Great example when you rewind to Oklahoma's 2025 class, which everybody poo pooed because it was a fringe top 20 class nationally. Yeah, Michael Fasusi, Ryan Foje, Elijah Thomas, those were three guys at the absolute top of Oklahoma's class, at least as far as the rankings were concerned. You know who wasn't? Cortland Guillory. Cortland Guillory, depending on which service you follow, was either a low 4-star or a high 3-star. I don't think anybody that's watched Cortland Guillory play football through the first 4 games of his collegiate career, and admittedly, he got baptized a little bit by Cam Coleman on Saturday, but, that's one of the best wide receivers in the country, making a freshman look like a freshman for the first time. I don't think anybody that's watched Cortland Guillory through 4 games actually believes that guy, that there were 400, 450 prospects in the country in the 2025 class better than that kid. He's already outperformed his ranking.
Torrey Blaylock.
Torrey Blaylock, bingo.
Yeah. There's several in that 25 class that, and like you said, everybody kind of, not everybody, but a lot of people poo-pooed on it just because it was ranked 18th overall. But they also only had 18 players. And when you look at I keep saying it, when you look at the composite ranking and you put all the average per commit ranking together, I think Oklahoma was like 8 or 9 overall. Because that means what they were ranked per commit. So they got quality, not quantity. And on top of that, as Parker said, there are so many guys out there that Oklahoma looked at and just decided this guy has a higher upside and they're probably not going to ask for as much. And on top of that, they're using the NFL model. They have a bunch of NFL guys in there that have scouted for multiple decades and been elite scouts and elite front office guys in the NFL. They know what they're looking at. And nobody craps on NFL draft picks, Parker, when they draft a Division I AA in the first round. They're like, oh, that guy's going to be good because he's a first rounder, right? NFL fans are none the wiser because they don't really know. They trust their general managers or they trust their front offices. And that's because in the NFL, they don't have, I mean, they do, they have the Mel Kipers of the world and stuff like that, but they don't have a on three, a rivals, a 24/7, an ESPN that are out there ranking guys, stars, and all this type of stuff and projecting out the way that they do in college. And I think that's where the issues towards what Oklahoma is doing come about because people look at it and go, well, on three and rivals are saying this guy is only this. So why is our staff saying this? Well, again, Parker, you made a really good point. Look back, don't just look at 25, look at over the years at Oklahoma. Some of the greatest players of all time have been great evals. Quentin Griffin, Mark Clayton, Jason White, um, Trent Williams was a 3 star. Lane Johnson was a 3 star, 2 star. Uh, Baker Mayfield, 3 star. Sam Bradford, 3 star. Parker, I can go on and on. And then the thing they're going to say is there's more 3 stars than there are 4 stars in the world. So you're going to hit on some of them. Yeah, but OU's hit on so many. Their hit rate on a lot of those guys have been really good.
Yeah. Well,
Jeremy Bill was
here's
like a, go ahead.
here's maybe the way you can sum it up. You trust the front office or not? I mean, it's really that simple.
Yeah.
If you trust the Oklahoma front office, I don't think you're worried about external recruiting rankings. If you don't trust the front office, well, then your issue isn't with the recruiting, now is it? So to
Yeah.
me, you've lost the plot if you're simply saying, "Oh, Texas A&M or USC or Tennessee, this program, they're recruiting better than us because they're higher in the rankings." They may be, or it may be a case where your front office at Oklahoma has done a better job evaluating than other programs. Would anyone have said, looking back in the 2022 recruiting cycle, that Oklahoma recruited better than Texas A&M that year? Not in the moment. Then what happened to that A&M class?
I know use 22 classes ballers, dude. Just straight ballers. That's
That
why they're 4-0, fellas.
two-thirds of that A&M class won't finish their career down in College Station
Yep.
because those guys weren't even evaluated by Jimbo Fisher and the staff. They literally just looked at the 24/7 sports rankings and said, all right, these guys are the highest ranked. Let's go recruit them and sign them. So, you trust your front office to do their own evals or not? If you
Yep.
do, you shouldn't be worried. If you don't, it's not the recruiting that you have an issue with, it's the leadership.
That's nail me hammer. Um, on that note, Ebo 23 asks, is the negative recruiting against the OU from other staffs dead yet? And do you have a good story of one such instance this cycle? I'm not going to name it. I'm not going to outright name it, but I'm going to say this. Is let me cook, Parker.
I
Let me
will
cook.
let you cook.
We
You go
we
right ahead.
we talked about this off air. Um, there was a player that Oklahoma stopped recruiting that was negative recruited over and over and over. Oklahoma was the leader for said player for a long time. I'm not going to name the player. I'm not going to name the school. And there's schools in this, schools up plural. But I will say this. One school in particular decided to tell said player that this staff was on the hot seat, that this staff likely wasn't going to be around long, maybe not going to finish your college career there because of where things were headed and how the 2024 season went. They proceeded to talk about how hard their schedules were for both programs. And one program's 4-0.
One program is not 4-0.
One program is not 4-0. I will leave it at that. I am not going to name what the record is because it's going to give away exactly who said school is.
Mhm.
However, I'm not even going to name the player either because you could probably go plural on the players on this. Um, and it is what it is. But to answer your question, Ebo 23, yeah, the negative recruiting has now when you're 4-0 and you're cooking with two top 25 victories, there's not much anyone can say when you're going to likely be a top 5 team when you roll into the Red River rivalry game in 2 weeks because of what's going to take place over the next 2 weeks. And you have Kent State. It's over, Parker. You can tie a bow around it as long as OU finishes with 8 wins or plus. Negative recruiting is done. And I like OU's odds to finish with 8 wins or plus. What say you?
At this point, they're halfway there, right? So
Yep.
should not be the most difficult hill to climb the rest of the way. The Sooners to this point, and they'll be more than halfway there after Kent State, right? Win 3 conference games. This is something that this team should be able to do.
Very, very,
So
very
they're
much
going to
so.
crack the 8 win plateau unless something goes horribly wrong.
I'm going to let you answer this one.
Okay, what do we got?
CJ Sooner. And it's a funny question. It's the one we talked about off air. Um, what's the deal with Caden Helms? Is he a slow healer or something?
Is he a slow healer? No. I mean, he broke his hand in
Yep.
camp. So he's been in a cast for several weeks now. I would expect him to get some run against Kent State. Everybody's going to get some run against Kent State, you'd think, right? So you're going to see Caden Helms against the Golden Flashes, would be my expectation. But I mean, here's the reality, right? Here's what it comes back to: availability is the best ability. And while Caden Helms has been unavailable or at the very least inhibited with that broken hand, you know who's played really well? Jaron Kanik.
Yeah.
And at this point, I I don't know. You're going to have Jaron Kanik on the field as much as you can possibly have Jaron Kanik on the field. I don't know if there's a tight end on this roster that you are taking Jaron Kanik off the field in favor of unless Kanik is just tired, right? Or unless you're in a goal to go situation where you need a blocking first guy and then maybe it's Carson Kent or Will Huggins. I don't know. But like Jaron Kanik is 5th in the SEC in receiving yards right now. He leads all tight ends nationally in receiving yards. So let's call a spade here. He's the guy at that position. And there aren't a whole lot of snaps to go around for anybody behind him. And so
Yeah.
at this point, I think you may be waiting until 2026 to see Caden Helms really come into his own. And believe me, like I trust that he will. He looked awesome in fall camp. Awesome before he broke his hand. But the circumstances are what they are.
So,
He suffers the injury. He's on the shelf. Jaron Kanik seizes the bull by the horns. It's how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
yeah, just to add a little bit to that, I think, and not really kind of take it in another direction because you answered that question on this tight end stuff. The Joe John Finley stuff's quieted down quite a bit, Parker. Um, Jaron Kanik looks good. The tight end room overall has played well this season. And on top of that, you have Caden Helms, who everybody's very high on. The second he gets healthy, he's going to be really, really good. Trinae Washington, he's been banged up, but they have high hopes for him because he's a freak athlete. He's already 220 plus pounds, a freak athlete that played cornerback in high school. For those that don't know, that's how athletic he was. He played cornerback in 5A football, which means he's playing against other guys that are playing college football somewhere. It doesn't matter if they're at a lower level or anything. If you're a corner at 220 pounds at 5A, chances are you're pretty good. And that shows you his athleticism. So OU loves what he can provide. Oh, and let's not forget, Cade McIntyre is obviously still there, but you're bringing in a top 200 player in Tyler Ruxer. You're bringing in a 3 star that a lot of people think has a chance to end up being a high 4 star, top 300 player overall when it's all said and done, and Ryder Mix. And Oklahoma has a chance to have a really good 2027 tight end class. Joe John Finley has a chance to go from GOAT in like a bad way, by the way, or dote. I guess I would say dote. Dote to GOAT as a tight end coach. If he keeps this up and his room continues to produce and he continues to recruit at the level he has in 26 and 25. You agree with that?
The 2026 class, and
It's
we're
special.
already starting to talk about 27 at the tight end position over at OUinsider.com. They made
Yep.
a seriously strong impression this past weekend with three, count them three, blue chip tight ends.
Elite tight ends.
But
Yep.
the 2026 class was kind of just what the doctor ordered for Joe John Finley. I mean, it was a class where you needed to give the fan base, if no one else, you needed to give the fan base something that they could. uh, I guess what I'm trying to say is they needed a reason to believe in you, and you gave
Mm-hmm.
them a reason to believe in you with Ryder Mix and Tyler Ruxer. I mean, those two guys are talented, talented dudes that can show up and make an early impact.
I,
Especially Mix, man. I think, Ruxer is maybe the higher ceiling guy in the long run. I see Mix as the more college ready dude. And
yeah,
I,
probably.
yeah, I think both of those guys are going to add value for Oklahoma in the long run. I don't think either of those guys are dudes that get here and just wash out. No, I think those are going to be weapons in an SEC offense at the tight end position. And credit to Finley, man, for just staying the course amidst all of the turmoil. It got so bad that he deleted his Twitter account because he didn't want to have to deal with the flack that he was catching from OU fans. But man, he's done well for himself on the recruiting trail. And he, I, whether you want to or not, you got to give him some credit for Jaron Canick's production, right?
Yeah.
Because Jaron Canick didn't make that transition from linebacker to tight end on his own. It's not as if he just switched sides of the football and suddenly knew all of the technique and nuances of playing the position at a high level and immediately became one of the best tight ends in the country. No, there was coaching that was required to get him there. And Joe John Finley handled that.
Yeah, I've had a heated discussion about that. Not really heated, but a interesting discussion about that on OU Insider with a particular fan. I think is Boomer Law 25 or something like that. He's one of my favorite posters. I'll give him that. Like he is, he's awesome, funny, but he does not like Joe John Finley. And there's nothing that's going to change his mind. And I respect it. He stands his ground. He stands, it doesn't matter. He has his moral compass and he's sticking to it. So that respect. Um J Cran 01, honest prediction on what we will see or if we will see Jaden Odd against Kent State and what happens moving forward if we don't. Look, you will see Jaden Odd versus Kent State. Now, I don't know in what capacity or how much, maybe 5, 6. I mean, it could be 5 or 6 snaps, or they seriously could just try to get him going and see what they can get out of him because nothing else has really worked like 100%. Blaylock's worked to an extent at times. Um, Barnes has worked to an extent at times, but nobody's been that home run hitter that OU needs at running back yet. They have not had that. Blaylock's against Temple, he made a few long runs, right? But it hasn't been consistent through 4 games. He
Here's my
has,
thought, Brandon. Here's my thought on Ott and Kent State. Jaden Ott didn't play at all against Auburn, not even on kick return. And he'd been handling kick return
Oh,
up
that's
until that
true. I
point.
didn't even think about that. That's
He
true.
did not touch the field against Auburn. Brian Windhorst meme time, right? Why would Jaden not have played against Auburn? Here's what I think.
Red shirt.
Here's my opinion on the matter. I think October 4th is the day of reckoning for Jaden Knott. I think that is the day that, I mean, if this whole approach makes any sense whatsoever, the Sooners will force feed Jaden Knott the football against a cupcake opponent. And if he can get rolling, all right, you got something. Took a little while for him to kind of kick into gear, but you have an asset that you can start to incorporate into the backfield rotation as you dive back into conference play. And if he can't get rolling against Kent State, if he can't make headway on the ground against Kent State, well, he's appeared in 4 games at that point. And whether it's his decision or Oklahoma's decision or a mutual decision therein, it makes sense from a business standpoint for Jaden Ott just to pack it in at that point, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be honest, he's not getting drafted if he just rides the bench the rest of the way as Oklahoma's fourth string running back. It's not happening. This is a guy that's a year and a half removed from going for 1,300 yards at the University of California, Berkeley. So he has NFL draft stock. Even with what has happened in the first 4 games of his only season at the University of Oklahoma, he still has draft stock. That draft stock disappears if he's just not on the field the rest of the way. And so to me, what this is setting up to be, this Kent State game on October 4th is setting up to be the day that we all figure out whether or not Jaden Ott is a piece of the puzzle moving forward for Oklahoma. And if he's not, I wouldn't expect to see him at all the rest of the way.
That's where I was headed with what I was talking about. They have to find a home run hitter. If Ott doesn't become that guy against Kent State, he's never going to be that guy. So therefore, as Parker said, red shirt, deuces. And the unfortunate part about that is if they don't hit, that looked like such a huge win for Nagy, right?
It did.
At the,
It did.
when it happened, that was so big. It was such a big deal across the college football world. Like, holy crap, that dude got in the portal and he went straight to Oklahoma. This is going to be huge. And to watch him come in and have the attitude that he's had at Oklahoma has been a disappointment. And I hope OU clips this and shows it to him. I do. Because we always want to see kids succeed. But if you're not going to give it your all and play well for a guy that was an NFL MVP and knows what it takes to be elite at that position, one of the greatest OU running backs of all time, and if Ott doesn't know this, OU's full of elite running backs in its history. So to say that about DeMarco Murray is something. And for him to go to the Cowboys and be the offensive MVP in 2014 or whatever year it was, I can't remember what exact year it was, but I believe it was 13 or 14. Um, he knows what he's doing to be elite. That means the problem is Ott. It's nobody else but Ott. And I'm just being blunt here. So either he is going to get it going with his attitude, with whatever is holding him back, or it's time to just sit there and ride out the rest of the season, enjoy it from the sidelines, and move on. The unfortunate part, Parker, is that he's taking money away, rev share that they could probably be using for somebody else that is performing right now. but that's neither here nor there. All right, really good question here about one of a player that I got a story coming up on OU Insider about, um, and that Steve Wiltfong put a prediction in just yesterday on, and that is none other than Bigsby's 2027 O line D line, uh, Sooners target, Caden Penny, Stymac OU, and he specifically wanted me to say Stymac because he put it in there. This is how it's pronounced. It's not Stimac, it's Stymac. Um, I see that I see that OU got a prediction in for Caden Penny. Do you believe he makes 5-star status? And who does he remind you of? This is easy. I don't know that he gets the 5-star status. I think he gets close. I think he'll be between that 35 and 75 range.
He's a top 100 kid.
Yeah. Yep.
Probably not a
So
5-star, but a top 100 kid.
exactly. And 35 is like that fringe. So I'm just saying, like, he's a top 100 guy, as Parker said. I think he's 35 to 75, probably around there when it's all said and done. Um, so no, I don't think he gets a 5-star. However, as far as who he reminds me of, he reminds me a lot um, of, oh my gosh, Tyrese Thompson. That's who it is. A more athletic Tyrese Thompson.
Tyrese Thompson,
Ty- yeah, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020 O line.
Tyrese Robinson.
Robinson. Oh my gosh, I said Thompson. Tyrese Thompson's a basketball player. Tyrese Robinson. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, he reminds me of him a lot. Just a more athletic version. And remember, that's saying something because T Rob played every position at OU outside of center. They played him guard, left, right tackle. Didn't matter. He did it all for Oklahoma. He was that team guy, that elite guy. I think he is a more athletic version of T Rob, which is big time. And that's a compliment as well because OU offered T Rob before his freshman year of high school. True story. I remember getting a DM from him saying, "Hey, OU just offered me," and it was a first big offer for him. And then he blew up. He was one of the better players in the DFW area on the O line for 4 years. He's just a really good player. That's who I compare him to, and I think OU fans will like that because he was a really good offensive lineman at Oklahoma. What's your who does he remind you of to you?
Penny?
Yeah, he's not real big, and neither was T Rob,
No, he's not. Um,
or at least out of high school, T Rob wasn't.
yeah, I haven't thought about a player comp. But just having watched him in person on multiple occasions, yeah, I don't think he's listed as an offensive tackle right now. I
He's
don't
not
think
a
he's
tackle.
yeah, I don't think he's taller than 6'3", and at 6'3", you can't play tackle. It is what it is. So
Is he 6'3" though? Like you and I
you
almost looked
may
him
he
in
may
the
not be
eye.
6'3". Yeah, but what he is he's really strong
He's so good.
and like man, he's a fun watch because especially just watching that Bixby Owasso game to start the year up at Skelly Field in Tulsa. Man, he's going up against Taj Overton all night and just manhandling him.
Yep.
And that's no small feat. Taj Overton is a P4 defensive lineman that's a year older than Penny. Man, I guess maybe where I would go is, and this is a more obscure comparison, perhaps slightly more obscure, but it's from about the same time period. Remember Chris Murray?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good
Chris
one.
Murray was a
That's a good one.
really solid player for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Never came with the accolades for him. Like he was never a guy that got a ton of press for what he did at Oklahoma, but he was just rock solid consistent for 3 years as a starting guard at Oklahoma. And similarly, he was not that big. I think he was listed at 6'1", but he
Yeah.
got the job done. And it's because he was strong and he was polished and he was technical.
I want to see how big Tyrese Robinson is. That has me intrigued now. Um, yeah, Tyrese Robinson was 6'3". He ended up being 324 before he graduated, but I remember he was like I don't know, 280, 290 coming out of high school, which is about what I would assume um, Penny's going to be when he is done with high school as well. Just because he plays defensive tackle for him. So he does so much for Bigsby. He's a really good defensive tackle as well. Just a better offensive lineman overall. All right. Steve Rollo, Steve O, Steve O Rollo. Is that how is you know what I'm talking about on the board?
Yes, Steve O'Rolo.
Okay. Just making sure I said that right. Just there's not an E after the V. So, all right. It's evident Buck likes Burke, Satania, and Lewis, and rightfully so. But we heard so many good things about other receivers throughout fall camp. ET is balling out on special teams, but why not give him some run on the offense? I know Giovanni Gibson is coming back, and that's great. But we have Kearney, on Jordan, uh, Carter, and others. Yes, they've had a few snaps, but we run a risk of losing the talent via the. But do we run the risk of losing the talent via the portal? The old saying about talent is if you use it, you if you don't use it, you lose it. That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the reality. Is Oklahoma going to keep all of their receivers? Like right now, the only guys that are set to graduate this coming year are Keontae Lewis and Deion Burks. Is Oklahoma going to keep all 12 of the other receivers and incur
Mhm.
zero transfer attrition whatsoever? No. No. They'll lose some guys to the portal. They will. It's just the natural roster churn of the era that we live in.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be immune from transfer departures any way you slice it. But the way I look at it is why not give Elijah Thomas some run? Why not give Ivan Cario and Zion Kearney some run? Why do you feel the need to right now? If what you have is working, and it is working, Deion Burks is playing great ball, Isaiah Satania is playing great ball, Keontae Lewis is playing great ball. If what you have is working and you're winning football games, why mess with it? Why rotate for the sake of rotation? I like Elijah Thomas as much as the next guy. I like Ivan Carion as much as the next guy. Can say the same for Jacob Jordan or Zion Kearney or whoever. But if the recipe is working, and it is right now for Oklahoma, why would you feel the need to needlessly tinker? That's my standpoint on it. If the Burks, Lewis, Satania trio is working, if that is the functional starting rotation that you have at wide receiver, and those guys are all producing individually, they're all getting open, they're all proving to be threats at all three levels of the field, which all three of them have been so far.
Mhm.
I do not see the necessity of incorporating more snaps for other wideouts at the expense of the snaps that are currently being allotted to Burks and Satania and Lewis. Just let it ride.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I do think you will see Giovanni Gibson quite a bit. I think that will be the addition that fourth receiver, right? That I think is going to be not just rotation, but be a staple in the Sooners offense moving forward. I think Parker agrees with that as well, just because of what we've seen from Giovanni Gibson in the time we've seen him. And on top of that, what we've heard of how good he was uh, during his time being available during practices. So, yeah, that's where that's headed. Of the guys that I think will probably crack, I think Jermichael Carter will probably see some run before the season's over more and more. Um, Elijah Thomas and Zion Kearney will probably be the guys that you see the most out of the four. And I'm not trying to, Jacob Jordan's going to get his every now and then. I get it. But overall, you have to stick with what works, like Parker said. Like you're 4-0 with that lineup. And those receivers are really good. Like that trio is a good, you could argue they're one of the top 3 or 4 receiving units in the SEC right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why mess with that outside of throwing your best receiver back in that lineup? And that's what some people say. I know people are going to be like, what? Drum, you have Deion Burks has been playing. Isaiah Satania has been playing. No, Giovanni Gibson was widely considered the best wide receiver.
He was. It was to a man. Pretty much everybody in that building said in the spring, Giovanni Gibson is wide receiver one. So very excited to see what he
Yep.
looks like when he gets back on the field for Oklahoma in this Kent State game and beyond. But I guess I can sum the whole thing up as follows. If the rationale is find more snaps for other receivers to make sure that they don't transfer at season's end, at that point you are sacrificing the present on the altar of the future. And that's not a good way to do business.
Sacrifice.
That's not a good way to operate. Because look, yes, Oklahoma's 4-0 right now. Yes, it's been a hot start for this program. It's been the start that they needed. Let's not act for a second, though, as if all of the pressure that was created by that 6-7 campaign in 2024 has evaporated. Oklahoma still has to go and string wins together in conference play. They have to sustain the momentum of this early run. And if they don't, everybody in that building is out of a job. You've got to win in 2025 before you can start thinking about 2026. So far, checked all the right boxes. There are still a lot of boxes left to check.
All right. This is a good one. Nelly Sooner. With what we have seen so far on defense against the teams OU's played, what team do you see giving Oklahoma the biggest problem moving forward? I would assume Tennessee and South Carolina. Again, this is from Nelly Sooner. Appreciate you being a member, just like everybody else in this. Let's ask questions. I say Alabama. And I know there's a lot of people that are going to say LSU.
No, my answer would be either Alabama or Tennessee right now.
Okay, totally
Just
agree. Those
especially
are my
because,
two.
yeah, no, you got to
Yep.
go to their place, right?
Yep. Exactly. That's where I'm headed with this. And Ty Simpson's been just absolutely hot. Now we're gonna see just how hot he is this weekend, right? Isn't it Alabama, Georgia this weekend, Parker? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes, you are correct.
I'm so excited for that game. Yeah, we're gonna see just how good Ty Simpson is. Now, from what we've seen outside of the Florida State game, Ty Simpson has looked like just a flat superstar the rest of the season. And granted, that's only 3 games, and they haven't really played a bunch of tough teams, but he's done what he's supposed to do and more in those 3 games. Tennessee, obviously, Aguilar, dude, he is a. Who saw that coming? Not me. Um, he's really good. Josh Heupel knows how to develop quarterbacks, as OU fans know. They watched it happen during his tenure at Oklahoma as an assistant and quarterback coach. So, look, those are the 2 teams I see as the biggest problem. I think with Nick Anderson and Bauer Sharp coming back to town, much like Jackson Arnold, I think Oklahoma just puts it on the LSU offense. I do. Maybe I'm crazy, Parker. I don't know. Uh, and I also think that South Carolina relies so much on Lenore Sellers and his legs and his arms that they've become very easy to defend because of how they do it. They're not like Oklahoma where they're multiple in a lot of different ways. Even though Oklahoma relies a lot on Mateer's legs and arms. I just think Oklahoma has a better unit at wide receiver than South Carolina, and that's the biggest difference. Plus, Mateer, is inaccurate as he is at times, I think Lenore Sellers is far more inaccurate. And you and I had this conversation before the season. I wasn't as high on Lenore Sellers as you were, but at the end of the day, Lenore Sellers has elite talent. So you never really know what you're going to get out of him. He could be the Lenore Sellers of last year that won them how many games in a row. But right now, as we sit here on September 3rd answering this question, I think it's Alabama and Tennessee. And I think that's an easy answer for me. And you agree, Parker, correct?
I do.
Yep. All right. This one, TC Gwynn. Why can't Eddie Pierre Louis crack the starting lineup? That's you, Parker.
Why can't Eddie Pierre Louis crack the
I thought
starting?
this was a good question because I mean,
I mean, the answer is he. Bill Bedenbaugh doesn't think he's good enough right now. Bill Bedenbaugh would rather have Heath Ozida and Fabechi Wiwu out there. I'm not going to question it. Like it, if Heath Ozida
you
and or
could
Fabechi Wiwu,
though.
okay, sure, you could question anything,
Right,
but
but I'm just saying like the run game's been just ugh.
yeah, but is Eddie Pierre Louis alone going to change that?
I don't know. I don't think so,
Like
but
to me, if Heath Ozida and Fabechi Wiwu sucked, then we're having a different conversation. But those guys haven't sucked, right? They've played decent ball. It hasn't been great. I mean, Oklahoma's offensive line as a whole hasn't been great. They played an awesome game against Michigan. It's been kind of ho hum otherwise, but I guess you don't really have reason to make that move right now until you know concretely that either Wiwu or Ozida just can't handle their business against SEC opponents. And we do not have enough data points to make that judgment call yet. And so in the meantime, you stick with the status quo, you stick with the guys that have the experience. Bill Bedenbaugh has demonstrated time and again that he's going to give the benefit of the doubt to veterans as opposed to guys that are new to the equation. And Eddie Pierre-Louis has just one collegiate start to his name.
mhm.
And so he's given the benefit of the doubt to Ozida and Wiwu. I can't fault him right now. Maybe we're having a
Yeah.
different conversation after the Texas game. But right now, that's the simple reason is that Bedenbaugh prefers Ozida and Wiwu at those guard slots.
Eh, Look, Ozida actually, I think Ozida played better than Weewu last game. I thought Weewu had his worst game as a Sooner versus Auburn. Did you notice how bad Weewu played at all? He wasn't great, man. It was rough.
I mean, the whole offensive line wasn't great. Again,
Right, but like, yeah, that's true. But I'm just saying, like, I
he's
don't know why I noticed him more. I
he's
don't know why.
been Oklahoma's most consistent lineman over the last year and a half. So
He
he's
has.
earned the benefit of the doubt.
He has, but he had a bad game. This is the last one. I think this is a good one though. Durantula 1023. The first part of the question I don't think really needs the answer. He asked what repercussions OU might face from the SEC since they decided OU should have had a penalty for the so-called trick play, which you can't penalize. They just put out there's no retroactive penalty for something, and they cleared it with the ref before the game. The officials before the game, they talked to him about it. Um, to what players should OU go after in the portal since two head coaches were fired recently from UCLA and Virginia Tech? Basically, are there any players on UCLA and Virginia Tech that Oklahoma is kicking the tires around with during that 30-day portal window?
I have not heard anything to indicate that
Me
that's
either.
the case.
The reason I read that question is because that needed to get out there because I think we were going to get that question over and over.
Yeah, and like here's the thing. Here's the thing. The schools that are involved with Virginia Tech and UCLA transfers and transfers from any other schools that have already fired a coach, right? The reason you'd be involved with those players is because you already recognize clear areas of weakness on your roster. Is there a clear area of weakness on Oklahoma's roster? Is there a position group where you can already tell, okay, you're going to need to fix that
I
in
can
the portal this
already
offseason?
hear the screams through my microphone and everything. Parker, the offensive line.
I feel like, honestly, the most likely answer might be tight end. But even so,
I guess, yeah,
Oklahoma,
because Cannick's a senior. Yeah.
yeah, Canic's going to graduate. Even so, I think there's a lot of confidence in Caden Helms and what he's going to be. I think there's a lot of belief in Carson Kent, who has another year left. And certainly Trinae Washington has made some awesome physical strides since he got to town. And so you can take a cross that bridge when we get there approach. You don't even if you're Oklahoman, you can strongly guess. You can hazard a guess that you're going to be in the market for a tight end at the or in the winter, I should say, in January when the actual portal window opens. It doesn't feel like a situation right now where you have to go out of your way to find a guy at that position on Virginia Tech's roster or on UCLA's roster. The pool is very limited. And when the pool is very limited and you're a school that has the resources that Oklahoma has, where you're going to be able to go and pursue the cream of the crop at a given position in the portal cycle come January, there's no necessity right now for Oklahoma to go and add any of the guys that have departed the Virginia Tech program or the UCLA program. With where the
I would
roster's at, there may be needs that become more apparent at season's end. Right now, there is not a player in the portal in this 30-day provisional window that you look at and say, Oklahoma has got to have that guy.
I would agree. I mean, like I think now Oklahoma's setting aside a lot of money for this portal window. Like everybody looks at this 26 class and they're like, oh my God, it's this and that. No, what Oklahoma's doing here, Parker, and we're big picturing this for January right now is what we're talking about. They're sitting back and they're going, okay, this 26 class, Jim Nagy, his front office only had 4 or 5 months. That's it. So 26 isn't going to be the greatest of greatest as far as like rankings and being able to evaluate and all that, though they feel like they've done a really good job with the time allotted that they had. Like, very good job. And I would concur. I think Oklahoma overall has done a really good job with how they want to attack the recruiting process in the minimal amount of time that they had to do it. Because what they're doing and how they're operating, they need time to evaluate, time to get all the information and intel on every player that they're going after. That's why this 27 class moving forward and on is going to be, Parker and I have talked about this a lot to you all, is going to be really freaking good. It also doesn't hurt that 11 guys are from the state of Oklahoma. And Oklahoma State is falling on its face right now. So that also doesn't hurt. I don't know that there's an amount of money that could get somebody to want to go play at Oklahoma State right now, Parker. Like, and I feel bad for them. I do, like, because I'm not a hater of Oklahoma State. I enjoy Mike Gundy, all that type of stuff. Like, great guy as far as like off the field stuff goes. He's a very nice guy. Um, that said, I don't know, man. They're going to attack the portal very aggressively. And we've talked about that over and over just for 26 because they would like it to be high school the rest of the way in development. And I think that's where it's headed back, Parker, to high school. Don't you agree? Like more and more high school recruiting is going to take place now with this one portal window. I think it's
It's going to be
slowly turning back.
harder. It's
Yep.
going to be harder to build a roster chock full of portal dudes.
Yep.
It's
This
going
is
to
what
it's going to be hard to build a portal heavy roster
yep.
the way that some teams have in the past.
The days of you stinking one year and all of a sudden being up for a national title the next year are probably slim. Because as Parker said, it's going to be really hard to do that moving forward. Anyways, all right. Hey, Oklahoma had a big recruiting weekend this past weekend. They hosted several commits, Parker. We had the list over at ouinsider.com. However, the 27 class was awesome that showed up. And we'll talk about that. But they had some official visitors as well in 26. Two, mind you, in three-star wide receiver and Tulane commit Braden Allen coming to town and having his official. And also, former Northwestern linebacker commit out of Jacksonville Nice High School, the home of Tim Tebow, if you don't remember. Four-star linebacker Jacob Curry was in town as well on his official visit, along with OU commit three-star defensive tackle Tank Carrington. This has been a very, very big weekend for Oklahoma to try to close out this 26th, like not so much close out, but to start to put a cap on things moving forward. My gut says that Oklahoma's going to end up flipping Braden Allen.
I mean, I think right now the odds are good that Oklahoma flips Braden Allen and Jacob Curry. Now, we may feel differently a week from now or a month from now because both of those guys have future visits set up.
Mm-hmm.
Braden Allen's going to Colorado this coming weekend. Ohio
Curry
State's going to get a crack at Jacob Curry, as will Auburn. All right. So you can't take it to the bank just yet, and I would caution against that. But the vibes are very good on the
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma side coming out of the OV weekend with both Braden Allen and Jacob Curry. If you ask me to bet on whether those two wind up in Oklahoma's class, I would bet right now that they both do.
And I would agree with that. I'm a little bit more leery on Curry just because of the Ohio State and Auburn situation, but it doesn't hurt, as we were talking about off the air, it doesn't hurt that OU put it to Auburn a little bit. And not just, it's how the defense played against Auburn. I think if you're Curry, you look at that and you're like, okay, that was a fun defense to play, and that's something you want to be a part of. Um, and then on the flip side, Braden Allen, you know that you have Bo Bentley coming in. You already have Michael Hawkins there. Whit Neubauer, obviously, Jet New. You know the quarterback's going to be in a good situation as well. So if you're Braden Allen, can you guarantee with the portal being the way that it is moving forward with one window, and they don't know how long that window is going to be open? I would assume it's probably going to be between 15 and 20 days. But um, man, it's going to be harder for teams like Tulane moving forward. They're not going to be able to get these wild quarterbacks to come in and transform their rosters. And you got to look at that if you're Braden Allen, right? Like that's something you look at, and I'm sure that's something Oklahoma's harping on too. So that's why I like Oklahoma with both those guys, just because. Again, Curry, I worry about Ohio State because Ohio State's Ohio State. The good news, fans, is that he's going to an Ohio State game where I believe, don't quote us, they're playing Minnesota. So the atmosphere probably isn't going to be as lit as it was at OU Auburn. Jackson Arnold or a return player is not coming to town for that game. That made that thing a little bit more crazy than probably would have been at any other point as well. Um, who else stood out to you this weekend, Parker, as far as like chances, Oklahoma making a move, all that type of stuff?
Well, there's a lot of information for VIPs at OUinsider.com.
Yeah, but I mean,
Start
just
there.
just just broad stroke it.
Broad stroke,
Yep,
I think Oklahoma's in a really good position with several 2027 targets that were on campus this weekend. I
sounds
think at this point,
amazing.
that's more what we're looking at is, okay, who are some guys that could start to form the foundation of the 27 cycle for OU? They already have two commits and Luke Wilson, the offensive lineman from Texas, and Damari DeJean, the wide receiver from the state of California. Um, I I think they're in a really strong position with several in-staters in the 27 cycle. Gabriel Osborne from Mustang, Brandon, as you well know, is one
Mm-hmm.
that Oklahoma's in great shape with.
Yep,
I think they're in good shape with Ben Kolar, just up the road at Norman North.
interesting.
That's another one I'm watching closely. Um, Titus Hawk from Choctaw was on campus. We'll see on that one.
Mm.
Um, that recruitment feels like it's going to be a little all over the place just in terms of interests, and I don't know that there's a clear lean from Hawks' side yet.
Can I add some intel on that? Just
Yes,
real intel on that. So he wants to play baseball as well. Um, the teams that are going to be in on him are going to have offered both. Oklahoma has not yet.
I Skip Johnson.
Well, Skip's recruiting him. They just haven't offered. I was told by a source that OU was working hand in hand with the baseball program on this, so we'll see where it goes.
Cool.
There you go.
And then
All right.
obviously Cooper Hackett was back in town. I mean, I think that's
Yep.
the biggest line item. Oklahoma's going to keep swinging away at Cooper Hackett, and I tend to think they're going to be successful in the long run, Brandon.
Yeah, he's gonna be back for I believe the Ole Miss game as well. So like I think it's gonna be a pretty good bet that that thing keeps moving back into the Sooners direct. There, look, at the end of the day, if you're Cooper Hackett, if you're I don't know, uh, Jalen Brewster, if you're whoever you are, and somebody says you need to do this or this is going to be gone, you do this. And I'm very being very broad on this and very general when I state this, but I mean, welcome to the NIL world. It's a take it or leave it world. But Oklahoma will continue to kick around the tires there. If anybody thinks that when Jalen Brewster, he announced his commitment date, right? The number one defensive tackle, right? It's October 4th, right? Or 7th? What was it? Which one was it? 4th or 7th? Do you remember?
I do not. Sometime in October.
Yeah,
At
early
least
October.
we know where he's probably committing.
Yeah. Well, he has the same representation as Hackett, as uh, Najir Kennedy, right? They're all the same represent. Am I correct on that?
You are. Yes.
Okay.
All
So, I mean,
represented by the same management group.
yep. So, I mean, that's not shocking, but at the end of the day, look, um, Oklahoma's going to continue to recruit both those guys throughout the whole process. It will be a big deal. All right. Look, we'll finish that up. It's a bye week. We've got a OU Insider Live. If you got more questions for us, go there. Watch that on Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. It's going to be fun. Those are always fun. Lots going on. Oklahoma's 4-0. Recruiting is just heating up, and we've got a ton of information for you over at ouinsider.com. We have a ton of information for you on team stuff. It's bye week. We're going to get to go interview all the players again. We'll have post practice stuff for you. We will have so much stuff for you guys over at OU Insider VIP. Plus, Brody Lusk has been killing it on the basketball front. So make sure you go over there, check it out. OU is making waves and moves on the basketball front ever since Trey Young became the assistant general manager on that with the program. Been a big benefit for Oklahoma. We'll just put it to you like that. So go check that out. We got a huge community of OU fans over there. All right now, you go over there, you click ouinsider.com, you click on the green button that says join now. It sends you to a page where you can click and get OU Insider for $1 the first week. Plus, you will get complimentary of OU Insider and On3, an annual subscription of The Athletic as well. It's a 2-for-1 deal. You can go month to month with us, $11.99, or you can go $19.99 and get us for a whole season. Whatever you do, we love to have you over there. Join the thousands and thousands of OU fans already at ouinsider.com. It's a hopping board. It's fun. Parker and I answer your questions 24/7. If you're a college student, you have a .edu, doesn't matter what college you go to. If you're a teacher, obviously, you have a teacher's email. If you're active duty, you have active duty email. Email us, ouinsider.com, ouinsider@rivals.com. We will get back to you with a promo code so you can get OU Insider for $1 a month for 3 months. That'll get you through most of this season. Again, .edu, Timbuktu University, doesn't matter where you go. If you're a Sooners fan, email us, ouinsider@rivals.com. We'll send you a promo code. Teacher, doesn't matter where you teach at, what level. If you have a teacher's email, email us from your teacher's email. Prove that you are a teacher. We will email you promo code for $1 a month for 3 months. Same with active duty military because we love our military guys. Parker's wife's a military. I'm veteran. We love and thank everybody that is serving our communities. All right. For Parker Thune, my name's Brandon Drum. You guys have a blessed day.